All right. Next little chicken I'd like to bring up is Emma. Come on, Emma, where are you? So how you feel?
Yeah, good. Really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really
It's been a hectic 18 months.
Oh, it's been a whirlwind of an 18 months for me. It's been a massive learning journey for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, crazy. I can't believe it's 18 months already.
So starting off, which was, back in May that we really started there, and then we kicked it off in June, I think it was.
Yep.
You didn't really know what hit you. What were you doing back then?
I was a fully qualified hairdresser. I worked out at Benora Point with my boss, who I did my apprenticeship through, and just working full time. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, and
Didn't have any goals or ambitions back then?
no, I just went through a breakup before I started the property development, and I went and saw Mum and Dad, and just it kind of hit me that I had to move back home after we broke up, and I didn't want to feel that way again. So I went and spoke to Mum and Dad and said that I wanted to get into property and start get my own property, because if I couldn't do it now, then I wouldn't do it. I was fully qualified, had a full income, working full time.
Okay, so we shuffled you off, sent you to Melbourne, took you on, all these training trips that you had to go on.
Yeah.
Had to go sitting in all those seminars and getting on stage.
Stage was anxiety plus. I couldn't even talk in front of a classroom when I was at school, and I'd break out in a rash that would start at the top of my chin, all the way down my chest and my back, and I was a nervous wreck. I couldn't do it at all.
That was day one. How did we get you over that?
Just by lots of practice and everything like that. I found out that I've got an overactive nervous system halfway through the property development, hence my rashes and everything. So, I've got to get on top of my nervous system and meditating.
You're doing pretty well, girl.
Like
Don't beat yourself up over it.
No,
You're doing very well.
I'm actually impressed. I can stand up on stage here now, and I haven't got a worry in the world. I'm so comfortable now.
Well, good on you, Del.
Yeah. Thank you.
So after the super conference, Kevin says you've got to do vlogs, go to every boot camp, all of this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of really getting ready.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd never done any of that stuff before, had you?
No, I remember sitting in a room with Kevin and yourself, and you put up on a board and you're like, okay, so you got this house and you had options, subdivision, everything, and I had no idea what any of these things were. And she goes, so Emma, what would you do? And I was like I had no idea. So to get me ready, sitting in the last super conference, I was mind blown. And I actually had to go back through your DVDs and everything like that and start watching them to catch up to where everyone was, because most of the kids knew everything and I had no idea.
Yeah, you came from behind the eight ball because you hadn't done any training with me at all before, whereas the boys had come with their parents, Samantha since she was 12, and Jack had done the quantum course as well. So you had a big learning curve to start with, didn't you?
Oh, definitely. It honestly hit me there is so much more to property than just a renovation, which I grew up with my mum and my dad doing when we were younger. So there was so much more to do.
And you were doing all that with a full-time job?
Yep. Yeah, it was very full
on. And that got a little bit funny with your boss, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, because working full-time as a hairdresser, as most people know, hairdressers work Saturdays. And because going into the property development, we had to have Friday, Saturday and Sunday here, and they were our busiest days at work. So it was getting a bit funny, which was understandable with my boss and everything like that, as to having those biggest days off as a senior hairdresser in the salon.
Now, obviously, you weren't in a position to be able to borrow money anyway. So I remember you ringing me up saying, what would it be like if I quit my job?
Yeah. Oh, I could borrow a bit of money. I think I could borrow up to 300,000. I could borrow on what I was on, but I just found I had not no time, but I was constantly studying on my Tuesdays off at night and everything like that. And I just wanted to experience, like I wanted to really get in and focus on what we were doing and have more time and being able to give it my all. And so, yeah, I wanted to quit my job and work for a lingerie company as a subcontractor.
And how'd that go?
Didn't last too long.
Wasn't quite what they said it was going to be.
No, yeah, I signed up with this company and they're like, yep, you got to get parties. But just the age that I was and trying to get the parties and everything going, it was just really hard to actually pick the business up and get it running. So I went
But you
back.
gave it a crack.
Yeah, I gave it a crack. I still do work a bit for them, and if someone needs anything, then I can give it to them. But yeah, no, not doing that anymore.
So then you went back to part-time hairdressing.
Yeah, I went back to subcontracting in a salon, and I was doing 4 days there, and it was really good. I had just had a definite Monday that I had to be there, and if I had meetings or anything like that, I could book everything around them. So.
Yep. So you had a lot of deals that you did a lot of work on. Let's talk about the first one.
So the first one was going to be a 1 into 4 subdivision. We were going to knock over the pre-existing house as it was sitting diagonally across the block. So, yeah, we spoke to the JV partner, put an offer in for $600,000, and then we went to your ultimate program. And I was in and out and in and out and in and out through the whole program negotiating on this deal because a few more people put a few more offers in. And then the agent rings me up and goes, so the block next door is currently up for offer as well. So I put an offer in on both the blocks on the exact same day and rung my JV partner to let him know after.
Probably not a real good move.
No, it wasn't, but it was just like, oh, I'll just quickly do it now. And then I ran into Lee and told him after as well. And he was just like, oh, you're meant to tell me these things before you do them, not while you're doing them. So I put an offer in at $612,500. Because, yeah, I had to be over 612, I got told. And so the first block that I originally negotiated on, I didn't get that one. Someone had better clauses in it. But I got the block next door.
So what happened there?
So, got the block next door. I dragged my lovely father, who's a builder, who I dragged everywhere through this whole process, to this property. And the house was in a better position that we could actually keep the pre-existing house on this one. So we thought before we looked at it. And we went and had a look. It was termite infested, white ant infested. And when you looked at the front of the block, the house actually sloped to one side because everything was just falling apart in the house. So we decided not to keep that, and it was going to be a 1 into 4 also. So if the property next door had 2 street access, but this house didn't have the street actually still going. So as you can see. Number 2, there was the property that we got out of the negotiation. And as you can see, the road actually cuts off beside the property beside it. So we got a quote to get that road extended, and it was going to cost us $1,000 per square metre. So all up, it was going to cost us $70,000 to get the road extended, which, took a big chunk out of the end price.
So what happened there?
There wasn't enough money in the deal in the end after you worked out all your fees, your stamp duty and everything like that, so we ended up pulling out of that deal and moving on to the next one.
Which was?
This was a 1 into 7 subdivision and construction, so this was pretty much just across the highway from the first deal. And we were going to keep the pre-existing house and give it a cosmetic renovation. We're going to build a duplex at the front of the block in front of the house and 4 townhouses at the back of the block because the pre-existing house was sitting to one side, so you had enough room to get a road down the side.
So what happened there?
So we were told by an engineer the property was sloping towards the back, and everyone knows you need to get the sewer and the water to the front of the block. So we were told by an engineer that you couldn't put a pump in the ground to pump the water to the front. We looked at going into the block behind, but we just, without going in between, they're probably like straight through the middle, we ran out of metres to actually put it through. So we looked at the section option of putting a pump in the ground and was told that we couldn't do it. But then to find out about 5 weeks later that you could after I'd pulled out of the deal because my due diligence ran out on that day when we found out. So I pulled out of the deal and found out 5 weeks later off the agent that I was working with that my JV partner, she kept the deal because we worked out there was still a deal in the front, just a little one that you could do by yourself. And found out 5 weeks later that there was...
Could have done that.
Could have done that and, pulled out of a $1 million profit deal. Yeah, it was a big kick.
It was a good lesson, that one.
Oh.
I think the partner continued to do that, though.
Yeah, she's still got it. I did look on PD line. It hasn't moved, hasn't gone to DA or anything yet.
it's happening.
So, but she still does have that deal.
I got to say, though, when you started, you couldn't speak developer. You actually...
No, not
you're
at all.
amazing me with your speaking developer.
Yeah, well, I think I amaze myself sometimes now. Yeah.
So then we went on to the third deal.
Yeah, this was going to be a 2/8 subdivision with a property next door, and we were going to go into JV agreement with the people owning, buying the property next door, and they were a lovely couple. So the green roof and the red roof were the two properties that we were working with, and the green roof was positioned awkwardly on the block as well as my first one. But so with the 2 into 8 it was going to be actually, and the money was in the 8th property. And we found out, because the house is positioned awkwardly, we found out that you can have a wider driveway and you can go in and then come back out for the driveway, because we were trying to work out where to position it. And we also found out that you can't have 8, you've only got 7, so it just became a neutral deal. There was no money in that.
And you couldn't
one.
negotiate it down.
No, you couldn't negotiate it down. The seller of the green roof was actually a real estate agent, so he was not budging at all.
So it was a no-go.
No.
Fourth deal?
Fourth deal was a 1 into 4 subdivision that I went into JV agreement with my dad in. It was a mortgagee in possession. We put an offer in for $830,000, subject to due diligence, finance, and a 90-day settlement. Settlement was for the vendor's side. They wanted the 90 days, and we didn't mind. So we had a granny flat on there that was actually on the plans as a games room, and we needed to go to a certifier to get it certified as a granny flat. And we were sitting in with the town planner. We had a meeting with the town planner, Dad and I, and then we worked out that why change the name just for the purpose of a granny flat. So we weren't going to sell it as a granny flat. We were just going to sell it as a games room, and whoever bought it, if they decide to make it a granny flat, that wasn't on our side. We also found out that the lawyer, who we had a dance with for about 5 weeks or so, wanted to put GST on our contract for us to pay. And so on top of the $830,000, they wanted us to pay $83,000 on top of that, plus your stamps and everything like that. And
On a residential property?
On a residential property, but they made the contract commercial. So he had in his head that our property was a commercial property and that we needed to pay their GST. And we went back and forth constantly. Mum and Dad were in contact with their accountants, we were in contact with lawyers, and everyone was saying the exact same thing. We can't have a commercial contract on a residential property. And then in the end he came back and he goes, so it's a residential contract on a residential property, and we all just sat there and went, I've been telling you that for 5 weeks. So yeah, that was a big kick. And this was the plans for the property. We also did some costings. We sat down with the town planner and did some costings on what actually did need to be done, part of our due diligence. And we found out that there was about 60 to 70 grand more work than what they said needed to be done. And they hadn't been paying their contractors. So trying to build up a relationship with their contractors and everything like that to actually find out what was left, we had to start building that relationship. So we renegotiated an offer because there was little to no money left in that deal, and they rejected the offer, so we pulled out of that deal.
So you've had 4 false starts,
Yeah.
but a lot of work and a lot of knowledge gained.
Yeah, definitely.
You've had a bit of a
And I actually
tough
wouldn't
trot.
call them false starts. I mean, 3 of those deals remained active, but from Emma's point of view, she was the first one in and had to really soften up the vendors and explain to them what was that. And in the end, when that last one was sold, they removed all of the clauses that Emma fought so hard to remove. because they realised at the end that everything that Emma had said was correct. And because her dad then suddenly realised that this is not my daughter, this is a mini developer, and he suddenly woke up one day and said, holy gee whiz, I have got a girl in my family that I can continue to grow my building business with. So all of a sudden, Craig has joined with you and is really mentoring you exceptionally well.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I can't show you anything now without the family. You know?
No. Dad and Mum have definitely taken me under their wing. Dad has his own developments on the side that he does, and every step of the way, Dad will pull me to the side and go, this is where I'm up to, this is who I'm talking to, this is where I want to get. And which has been fantastic for me. As a learning curve to actually still be going through it along the way, and he's got a few different deals as well. They're not all the same, so I'm learning different aspects and everything like that of what he's doing. So it's been, Dad and Mum have definitely, and Mum's my legals. Mum takes care of all legals, being an ex-paralegal herself, so anything that I don't understand, Mum talks me through it and everything like that, which is awesome.
So the emotional roller coasters you've gone through, the nerves are down.
the
you're
nerves
standing
are
up
down.
here being amazing on stage.
Yeah, plenty of practice. We definitely have plenty of practice between now and then, which has been good. Yeah, there was a lot of frustrations, a lot of stress. Definitely questioning whether I'm on the right path. I was questioning that, whether this was actually for me, whether I'm meant to be a property developer, and it got to a point where I didn't know if I wanted to do hairdressing anymore either. And so I spoke to Kevin. Hey.
Me.
Yeah, I spoke to Kevin and Lisa, and they definitely helped me get back on the right mind frame and everything like that.
A lot of tears.
Well, you only dealt with some. Poor Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
They dealt with a lot of tears.
I was just talking about mine.
Yeah, I can understand your tears. And yeah, dealing with self-doubt, I did doubt myself a lot and everything like that, but Mum and Dad definitely picked me up. Dad always gave me a big kick up the bum after every deal fell through, because I was getting frustrated and I'd just sit there and do nothing. Like, I was just so frustrated that it didn't work out, and so Dad would walk up behind me, give me a kick up the bum and say, come on, get going, if you want to do this, you got to get in and do it. So yeah, definitely an emotional roller coaster.
They were in my car the other day looking at a mortgage-free home that I wanted to show Emma and her dad's giving her this whole bit of tough love, and I'm driving the car saying, stop picking on my girl like that. She's way better than that. What do you think you're doing? And I'm going, oh, hang on, he's the dad. He's given you a lot of tough love in that time.
Oh, there's been a lot of tough love. Mum and Dad have taught us that if you want something, you got to go chase it. No one's going to bring it to you, and if you want it hard enough, start running pretty well. Yeah, which has been great for us.
So big personal growth there. You, where are you at now? What do you want to do? Where are you heading?
So I've gone back to full-time hairdressing, which I actually start next week. Not this week, coming next week, to gain a borrowing capacity again. I went to part-time basically to focus on the property games, knowing that I had a time frame that I had to work with and everything like that. So going back to full-time hairdressing, looking to buy my PPR on a little bay island and building a modular home. And then once I move out of there, I will start my mortgage-free home, take the equity that I've gotten out of there and start my mortgage-free home.
So you'll do a little chunker to get the first time owners grant and all that's a low cost. You'll have to live there for a bit, but you can probably hairdress over there too if you want to.
Oh yeah, the good thing about hairdressing, you can take it anywhere.
And she's working on some incredible deals. I mean, Emma's skill set, she could do a FISA on the back of a bus ticket the way she's going. She sees it now and goes, I got the stuff.
So there's a big learning curve, and I don't think you should beat yourself up that you didn't get one over the line, because you got a huge learning curve, and you're now at the point to be able to really put that into practice, and you've got a plan. You know, you got 2 deals really up your sleeve.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it hasn't been a negative journey at all. I think of it as a positive, that when I do get my first property, that I've set down the foundations and learnt so much that I can actually just go through it with a bit more ease than what I would have if I hadn't gone through all these difficult times. And It's been an incredible journey for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And Kevin and I are still there for you, darling.
Too bad if you weren't. You're stuck with me now.
Well done, Dal.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Let's give Emma a big round of applause. What have we created here? These kids have got so much confidence.